friendly neighbor turns out not to be friendly at all. You will not believe this story and how it unfolds. My name's Mr. Reddito, and today I have one of the wildest, most insane, most outrageous stories I've ever read. It involves a new neighbor, and OP meets this said new neighbor, and I don't want to ruin the rest of it because it's that crazy. After that story, we do have a Karen story to wrap up today's video. I hope each of you are having a great day. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe as there's so many stories to come. Here we go, story number 1. I'm a 24-year-old female living in Southern California. About 2 years ago, I decided to move to Fallbrook, a quaint and small town that offered nothing but peace. The oak trees towered over the roads and parks, and it made me feel grounded. Made me feel at peace. So, when I was told to move out of my stepfather's house, I wanted to get as far away from him as possible, choosing the furthest location and residence I could find, so Fallbrook it was. The house that I bought with my mother's inheritance was a large house. Fallbrook has a population of about 30,000 people, so it was a very close-knit community, with everyone looking out for each other. The houses were, however, not built too close to each other. Each house, like mine, had a very large wraparound porch and a huge backyard, separating it from the other houses by at least 200 yards. Honestly, I was not bothered by that at all. My house was made of red bricks, gleaming windows tall and bright, wooden floors and doors, a large cobblestone driveway, and the thing that I admired the most, a large pool in the backyard. At my stepfather's place, we never had a pool, and I had always wanted one when I had my own place. So you could imagine how happy I was when the real estate told me the house had a pool. It was built in a modern way, since the house was newly built and was shaped like the number 8, shallow at one end and deep at the other. The guy who lived next door was more than happy to help me move in, and I quickly learned that his name was Bryce. And then he worked at 9 to 5. Bryce and I became really good friends in the course of 2 years. He was a tall and polite guy with a dazzling smile. It was 3 months ago when Sasha and I were lounging on the chairs beside the pool, soaking in the sun in our bikinis when we saw a mover's truck. It drove past my house into the house beside mine. It's been empty for quite some time, and no one had bothered to ask why. It was nice, well-kept home, and the gardener visited once a week to trim the hedges and rip out weeds. Trotting behind the mover's truck was a silver-colored sedan. It was very apparent that the woman driving the car was going to move in. Sasha and I exchanged glances, excited. The girl seemed around our age, and since our neighborhood consisted of the elderly, mostly, we were craving for more girlfriends. She seemed to have noticed us too from across the road and smiled while waving. "I think she'll be nice," Sasha grinned. "Say, we both should go over and say hi, yeah?" I'd only nodded in response, a little unnerved by Sasha's excitement. Yes, I was happy at gaining a potential friend, but something about the girl seemed a little off. Something in my gut had churned when she had smiled and waved at us, and excitement had turned into suspicion. I was confused to say the least, and I decided to shrug off the overwhelming feeling and not jump to conclusions. That did no good after all. That night, Sasha, Bryce, and I decided to go and greet her and introduce ourselves. I bought a bottle of moderately expensive wine, and Sasha had bought a vase, and Bryce just grabbed the first bouquet of flowers he could find. The 3 of us walked to her house, all dressed up. Sasha had also decided to bring a dish of casserole along, since she figured the girl was unpacking and would barely have time to cook. She'd open the door as soon as Bryce had rang the doorbell, almost as if she was expecting us. I know that seemed strange to all 3 of us, because there were looks of confusion on Sasha and Bryce's faces, which went away as soon as it appeared. She introduced herself as Jade and told us she was a college student that worked at the local diner to pay her bills. She told us she had rented the house for a cheap price, since she did not have enough money to purchase the property. Her green eyes would glint whenever they would turn to me, and I thought it was just the lighting playing tricks on my brain. She was polite and sweet and promised she'd have us over for a proper dinner when she's finished packing. Her house, however, seemed devoid of any boxes that we had seen buff men unload in the morning. I just assumed she had put them away fast enough. Maybe she liked working. I gave it no more thought as I went home that night. In the weeks that followed our first meeting, we would run across each other in the grocery stores quite often or at the local diner. It was odd seeing her out at the same time as myself, but it did not matter. She was polite and we were friends now. One weekend, I had decided to throw a pool party. The sweltering heat was unforgiving, and it felt like the sun would eat everything up. I'd invited a group of friends from work: Sasha, Bryce, and of course, Jade. We decided we'd order pizza and just chill around the pool. One of my friends from work said he'd bring a guitar and we could maybe do a jamming session, to which I agreed. It was fun and it was a relaxing time. Everyone got along well. I had to clean up a lot, but it was so worth it. So, the next morning, I was relaxing by my pool since it was a Sunday and I had nothing to do. I had my eyes closed, feeling sweat creeping down my back and the sunscreen running with it. That's when I heard footsteps and sat up as quick as I could, since I've not been expecting anyone. Sasha and Bryce were busy and my office friends did not live near me. I opened my eyes to see a grinning Jade standing there in a bikini, a towel thrown over her shoulder and a glass of lemonade in each hand. The first question that came to mind was, how did she even get in? Maybe I've left the door open or something. "Hi," she smiled. "Sorry if I startled you. I was free today and bored. Thought I'd hang out with you. You want some lemonade?" she asked, thrusting one of the ice-cold containers in my direction. I could do nothing but nod, accepting the drink, watching as she threw herself on a lounge chair. Something about her was very odd, and I slowly put the lemonade and her eyes followed my hand with a smile. "You left the door, so I let myself in." She giggled, sipping at her drink, and I smiled, not touching mine. It was something inside me that told me not to drink the cold substance, and I obliged. She swam around for a while, talking about work and whatnot, but I saw how her green eyes would dart between me and the container of lemonade, almost as if she wanted to ask something but was afraid of doing it. No, not afraid, as if she was waiting for the right moment. I don't know, it was so peculiar. She left soon after, thanking me for allowing her to swim, and I could only smile, locking the door behind her as tight as I could, making sure all the doors and windows were closed. A few nights after that, I was awoken due to the sounds coming from the backyard. It sounded like something was jumping into the pool repeatedly, moving around rapidly. At first, I thought it was Bryce's dog, Cooper. The husky would often jump over the fence and swim around the pool just for the fun of it. He was so cute, so I would let it slide. I was about to go back to sleep when I realized Bryce was not even in town. It was his sister's wedding and he and his dog had just left town 2 days ago. And they're not coming back till next week. My eyes widened, cold sweat running down my forehead and my head's turning clammy as they gripped the sheets with an iron-like strength. My knuckles turning white, I let out a deep breath as the noise continued and walked out the bedroom to investigate. My footsteps were slow, vigilant, and I was as quiet as a church mouse. The noises stopped all of a sudden when I approached the door that led to the backyard. The door was made of glass, and when I looked around, there was no one in the pool. The water was, however, not tranquil, providing that the water I had heard was not a figment of my imagination. It was real. But since it did not seem threatening, I decided to shrug it off and head back to bed. Had I reported it, would things be different? I don't know. The upcoming days got very busy and I was barely able to talk to anyone outside of work. Eat, sleep, and work, that's all that I seemed to be doing. It was exhausting, and I would fall face first on the bed every single day, not even caring about the sounds that I heard from the pool each night, shrugging it off as Cooper just taking a swim. What else could I do? I was too tired to do anything else, and it was just a day before my 24th birthday that my boss said we could have 2 days to ourselves. I was elated. So happy that I would have 2 whole days to myself that also were on my birthday. What else could someone ask for? I sang all the way on my way back home, humming my favorite tunes and nodding my head, a constant smile on my face. Who knew a break was all I needed? My boss let us off a bit late, and it was around 9 in the evening when I reached my house. I'd already thought of what I was going to do. I was going to sit in my bathtub for an hour, soaking in my favorite bath bomb, maybe even light a scented candle. I was going to shave and put on my best lingerie, order takeout from the local Chinese restaurant, and watch all the Twilight Saga. Except when I walked inside my house to turn on the light, the switch did not work, despite me switching it on and off multiple times. And this was the problem with all the switches in the house. Odd, I thought. Maybe it was a power outage, and that's when I heard the sounds from the pool. I knew it wasn't Cooper. Something in me told me it was not the cute pup. I put 911 on speed dial, walking towards the backyard, gulping. Each step I took felt loud, even with the slightest of movement. What I saw when I reached the doors I could not forget about to this day. Jade stood in front of the pool, a big knife clutched in her hand as she stared directly at me, with the same kind and polite smile. I was unnerved and approached the doors, locking them, but somehow I knew that would be futile, because she casually jumped in from the window right beside the door. She did not seem in a rush, and I felt adrenaline coursing through my blood. She stared at my hands with amusement as I pressed the dial button on my phone, thrusting the phone back in my pockets. She grinned, before charging towards me, and I barely managed to dive out of the way. It went like that for a while before I found an escape and ran upstairs, hiding in one of my wardrobes, praying that the police would arrive. "You'd look so pretty in that pool, all red and bloody," she bellowed out loud. It seemed as if she found her way upstairs, and I was trembling, shaking like a leaf. I heard sirens in the distance, but also approaching footsteps. It was a moment later that my closet was yanked open and Jade dragged me out, gripping my hair. As I struggled and thrashed about, she only laughed. As the voice of sirens grew louder, it wasn't until one of the officers broke in and located where I was by my screams and pushed her off, immediately handcuffing her. I fainted shortly after and woke up in a hospital. The police told me that she was a serial killer and that her name was not Jade. With the footage they obtained from Bryce's camera, she waited for me every night at the pool, and I was so glad I would never go out. I moved away shortly after, and I've never been to a pool since. Guys, when I told you that was one of the craziest stories, I honestly could not believe what I was reading. That story needs to be made into a movie. Could you even imagine the possibilities of having a new neighbor who seemingly is a nice person? Oh yeah, and let's not forget the lemonade incident at the pool. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think was in that lemonade that OP refused to drink? And the weird fact that this girl was a wanted serial killer, it just kept getting more wild and wild and wild. I have a strong opinion on this one, and it's top 5 craziest stories I've ever read. Let me know if you agree with me in the comment section below. I still have one more crazy story that might shatter some records as well. It's a Karen story that involves a man going to the emergency room. I hope you're all enjoying this content so far. If you are, smash that like button, and let's see what this Karen's up to. I'm a 33-year-old female and a double RN for a local clinic during the day and ER overnight. I'm married with 3 children. On with the post. It was an ordinary day at the clinic. There wasn't much going on since Kevin. Just dealing with the usual PT aka patient's woes. Cough, sneezing, or minor bodily injury. When a young man, let's call him Todd, enters with his service dog, a beautiful border collie. Naturally, the dog brings out all the ladies in the office, including myself. My administrative assistant, nicknamed Nicole, who does her regular scripted greeting towards the patient and asks the young man what brings him in. He's come in because he wasn't feeling well. The AA administrative assistant gets him started with paperwork while myself and the medical assistant, and the rad tech, they're making sweet nothings with this sweet little fur baby. While the PT's filling out the paperwork, this small conversation took place. "Hi, sir. How are you doing today? What brings you in?"
"Well, you see, I haven't been feeling well. I'm having difficulty breathing in and out my nose and congestion in my chest."
"Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Can I ask, why do you have a service dog?" By the way, we're legally allowed to ask this question due to ADA guidelines.
"Oh, I was born with Usher syndrome."
Sir, what is Usher syndrome?"
Usher syndrome's where over time you progressively lose your ability to see or hear. In my case, it started when I left my mom. Yeah, because of my condition, I've also developed an anxiety condition that Abby was trained to sense and cue me down.
"Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Please don't hesitate to call or ask for help filling out any of the paperwork."
Okay, thank you, but that won't be necessary. I can see a little, but some things are blurry, but thanks for asking.
"Oh, sure, sir. If you need any assistance, just let us know. By the way, your doggo is really sweet. What breed is she?"
Oh, Abby. She's a 3-year-old boarder, and she's been my best friend for years. I don't know what I would do without her. I've raised her since she was a pup.
"Oh, how sweet. Well, I best be getting back to work. I'll see you soon. And Miss Abby," I ruffled the pup's collar, "let me or Nicole know if you need anything." We part our ways briefly to get into the room ready for Todd and Abby. That's when we hear the door chime, indicating that another visitor has entered the facility. Per Nicole, she introduced our Karen. This woman looks like a version of Kirstie Alley. She hands her the necessary paperwork and Karen goes to sit down, only a few seats down from Todd. Todd gets up to hand Nicole the paperwork he's filled out. Abby perks up and helps Todd across the room. Karen apparently did not like this and keeps grunting and throwing nasty look in Tom and Abby's direction. Todd and Abby take their seats and is waiting on myself and the MA to bring them back. Karen gets up and approaches Nicole. "Here you go." She hands back the clipboard with the paperwork. Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but I noticed you haven't completed your paperwork. Is there something I can help you with?" "No, I don't feel comfortable here." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Can I ask how I can make you feel more welcome?" "Why, yes. You can start by removing that filthy flea bag." Ma'am, I'm sorry, but that's something I can't do." "Ugh, why not? It's unsanitary to have a filthy animal in a sterile field. That dog doesn't belong in here." Perfect timing, poor Abby perks her ears up as she's hearing an ambulance pass by the clinic with its horn blaring. Bring on the howling. "Oh, shut up, you filthy flea bag!" She screeches at the dog. "Shut that stupid Mutt up."
I'm so sorry. Shush, Abby.
He pulls on her lead and she tries to get Abby to settle down. She doesn't often do this. "Bullshit! That mangy Mutt probably isn't a real service dog anyways. Probably just bought the vest off eBay, lying craphead." Ma'am, I'm sorry, but you cannot be approaching our other patients or the dog. The dog's a service dog for this patient, so please lower your voice. It may disturb the other patients in the office. Trying to redirect Karen, "Would you like me to help fill out your paperwork so you can be seen by the provider?" No, I want this mutt removed and to speak to your provider.
Sure, ma'am. Nicole places a brief call to the back nurse station and requests that I come up to the front and give a brief indication that there's an urgent matter happening out front. So I get up and go to the front when I greet and meet our Karen. Hi, ma'am, how are you doing today?
Not so good, honey. You see, I came in here because I'm experiencing a lady problem and this beast is here. Keeps making inappropriate noises and it stinks. I've asked your reception here to do her job and get that beast out of here, and she refuses to kick the kid and his mutt out. It's just not okay.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. What noises are you hearing that you find inappropriate?
It's howling, panting, and it's just nasty.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but per ADA, we cannot discriminate against the disabled or prevent them from using a service animal.
What? He's abusing that animal. How can you people be so cruel and disgusting? You'll burn in hell, you piece of beep.
She wags her finger at Todd. Ma'am, that's enough. You're going to have to calm down or I'm going to ask you to leave. There's no need for the name calling for this issue to escalate. The dog's a service animal and he's here to assist his owner on daily tasks. Now, if you would like to still be seen by myself or my provider, I can go ahead and take you to the back and have you wait in an exam room.
Really? I want to see that Mutt's papers.
She approaches Todd with her hand out demanding for his registration papers.
Ma'am.
I get between her and Todd to prevent Karen from getting too close. That's not necessary, and you're not allowed to ask anyone for proof of identification or medical necessities. I think it's best for you to find another physician's group to care for you, as we will not be able to take you today.
Ugh! How dare you? Why can't you see me? And why do I have to leave? That monster and his filthy mutt should leave.
She argues. I demand to kick them out now. Ma'am, I've asked you to stop yelling. I am sorry, but I will not be able to treat you today as you're acting very inappropriate and causing a commotion here. Could you please leave?
Oh, shut up. I can do and say whatever the hell I want to, and I will not leave until I'm seen and that monster with his mutt are thrown out.
While my back and attention was focused on Karen, Abby had gotten up and was alerted to her owner's distress cues from Todd. All of Karen's screaming had begun to make Todd panic. That's when Todd stood up, grabbed Abby's leg, and just collapses on the floor after slightly hitting one of the chairs in the waiting room. I quickly turned and rushed to Todd and ordered Nicole to get the MA and other RN.
Oh, stop faking it, you stupid idiot.
Scuffing and approaches Todd, she kicks his boot, trying to make him move. Nicole returns with my MA and RN while all three of us attend to Todd. Nicole asks for Karen to step back a bit.
Why the hell do I have to step back? He's faking it. Get that damn dog out of here. I told you this was no place for him. Shut the hell up, damn it!
Yeah, not my finest hour. But I was panicked and irritated at this woman's audacity. The whole room goes quiet, and this would be one of the very rare occasions that I've ever gotten this angry. I call over my shoulder for Nicole to phone the authorities and an ambulance. I proceed to position Todd on his back with the help of the RN. I checked his airways and used my hands to feel the back of his neck and head to make sure there's no bleeding or swelling. I also use my stethoscope to check his heart and lungs. I then proceed to try and wake Todd up. He's not responsive. I take out another scope from my scrub jacket pocket and try to look into Todd's eyes. I check his pulse and ask my RN to get his blood pressure and pulse oximeter using her wrist cuff. I speak over my shoulder to my MA and start an IV line. I don't think it's life-threatening, but I don't want to risk it with how quickly Todd went down.
Besides, he did say he was having issues breathing, and I know we do not have that type of equipment within the office if he begins to code. The longest 20 minutes of my life and an IV drip started. Todd's on the gurney bed of an ambulance and is being loaded into the back of it. I turned to the local authorities that followed the ambulance and asked them to remove Karen from the premises. "But you haven't even asked how I was doing." "Ma'am, you'd be lucky that I don't personally press charges against you for assaulting myself, my staff, and that patient. You should be ashamed of yourself." "Oh, pish posh! I did nothing wrong. You should be arrested for allowing that beast in here."
The officer speaks up saying, "Enough is enough. Karen, follow me."
But officer drags her out of the office. The office did press for trespassing ordinance against Karen and escorted her out of the building. We haven't seen or heard from her since. As for Todd, and thanks to one of the daytime employees at the local emergency room, Todd's doing much better and needed to be observed overnight due to his head trauma and cardiac arrhythmia. Just for precautions, he made a full recovery. When his relatives arrived at the hospital, the parents pressed assault charges against Karen. I've been in communication with her attorney. So this is one of those few times when I read a Karen story, and I just feel like justice was not served enough. The audacity, and I mean the pure evil hatred audacity of this said Karen, to even go ahead and mention that the dog is possibly not a service dog, and how gross it is, feline infested, blah blah blah. She did not even have to sit next to those people or the dog. Let me know exactly how you guys would have gone about handling this, Karen. I think if I was there, I would have freaked out way worse than OP. But let me know your opinions in the comment section below. I love reading Karen stories, and I hope you guys like listening to them. If you do, let me know, and I'll keep doing them. That's all the content I have for you today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Consider subscribing. Have an amazing night, and Mr. Reddito, we'll see you in the next one.